Ass.
Man is but an
Yeah.
ass if he was to say what me thought I was and me thought I had, or something like that. Hi.
Brett, when are we getting out of this thing? What do you think? I keep thinking every time we talk.
What
I know,
hyperbaric chamber I do these shows from? Never. I haven't aged a day in 135.
Oh, okay. Looks like the slate is up. So the movie thing on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a group thing. Is it not going to be a group thing?
No, it's just you watching. I mean, it's a group thing with all of our Twitchers.
No, but I thought that was why 4 people had signed up for it. Was because
it's
4 people.
4 people want to be considered to
I
be
thought
the
it
person
was going to be a group and a group discussion.
Listen,
I signed
I
on to some of those to be part of that group.
Okay, well then let me see if I can crack the code then, John.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe we'll do a test. My wife, John, I have
two?
to burp. I have to burp, but there's a lot of water in me, and I'm not sure what's going to happen.
There's a 10-minute period before the show starts where you're literally the most disgusting creature on earth.
John, I'm scared about this. John.
Are you scared of what might come out when you open your chamber and release the Kraken?
Yeah, John, fear's real.
Yeah, I feel it.
God, why can't I get the Twitch thing to pop out?
Oh, you're going to be watching that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I'll get it today.
You and the Twitches. Oh, I meant to put the Twitch story on the rundown. With AOC and Jordan Ewell defeating the U.S. military. Did you see that?
I did.
We interviewed him at the early stage of that, and within a few days, he had defeated them.
We rated it. Oh, I'm not doing that right. I'm not doing it right, John. Pop out. John.
Pop up.
Pop up.
He's so good. Okay.
There's my
minute.
activity feed.
We have a minute. This is just to get the chat. All of this effort that you're putting in is to get the chat.
John, I used to have it.
It's a button. It's just a button. Oh, yesterday during the show, the chat kept freezing, like the live feed. I had to keep refreshing it to get it to work. I don't know what that's about, but it's annoying. Okay. Brett, we're going to drive-in later tonight. Is that weird?
I don't like it.
I don't know if I've ever done that before.
You've never gone to a drive-in?
I don't think so. Where are there drive-ins? There was technically one in Connecticut, but I don't know where they are.
Oh my God, there was one near my house when I was a kiddo. Just picture me as a little bambino. Ew. And we used to go there, believe it or not, as partiers when I was a kid. And then they tore it down and put in the area's first ever tiered seating megaplex
cinema.
And it was awesome.
Yeah.
And we were like, I don't care, but yeah.
You've come to at least one Cinespia, right? Yeah, you have.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. See, that's my version of a drive-in. I guess you drive to the place, but I like that you can bring your own food.
Yeah.
What?
Oh, no, I get it. I was like, the condition for whether it's a drive-in is whether you drive there?
No, that's not actually, but I'm like, you're outside.
You're outside. No, I get it. No, I got it. I ended up getting it. I don't feel right.
Okay, well then I guess we're ready. You didn't actually burp after saying you were going to, so I have to assume that is looming in the background, ready to happen at any moment. So we got that hanging over our head.
John, speaking of background, I think it's trying to find another way out.
Oh my God!
This one's closed, boys. Take the back exit.
No.
Oh, shit,
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of The Damage Report, an episode that couldn't come fast enough, considering what was happening before it. Brett, how's it going? Welcome back to the show, Brett. Good to have you here.
Good to have you here, John. Sorry, I was just reading a bunch of the Twitch activity that no one read. I don't know what happened, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, socially distanced DDI. Just went on it was between me and Uger, just like a bit spree. Nuts.
Nice. That is great.
Oh,
Awesome.
that's so good.
Thank you for your bits.
10 tier 1 subs.
Very nice. Very nice.
Oh.
Brett, thank you for being here. We got a big show that we're going to be doing. Some updates on coronavirus. We've got some updates on Trump invading cities across the country. That's going to be fun. We're going to check in on the state of the election, which seems to be developing fast. And then, of course, we're going to be closing out the show with Garbage People. I'm very excited to see yours. There has been a theme to your Garbage People the last month or so.
Hey, John, I just want to say something.
What?
While our personalities frequently imply the opposite, the shapes of our heads in this shot make us look so much like Bert and Ernie.
Wait.
It's like,
I'm Ernie?
You're Ernie because your head looks rounder, and for some reason, yours look normal. My head looks like the tallest head in the history of the world, right?
It does look a bit stretched. I swear I didn't do anything.
No, I don't think you did. Like,
it's the lens, maybe.
Is the same size. But why? Okay. My head looks so tall.
Do you have a gummy for breakfast, Brett?
I don't know, man. I had a second ago, but I do want to. Let's promote Happy Half Hour.
Let's do that. Who's on it?
Happy Half Hour. Nick Marzak is he's amazing. He's a musician. He has a new spoken word thing out. But he's composed on like American Dad, and he's a TYT viewer. He's amazing. It's on after, and he's from Pittsburgh, and so there's a lot of Pittsburgh at TYT. So we go through that. He drinks his favorite Yinsko Downtown through the Pittsburgh brews, and so we do that. And then later tonight, I believe we'll be on the front page of Twitch. Fingers crossed. Me, Anna Kasparian, Alyssa Bernardino, who is our intern, and Sloan Hughes, who is on Happy Half Hour. Follow her right now on Twitter, Cotton Can Daddy. She's hilarious. She's a Funny or Die writer,
awesome.
And she's fantastic. That's at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/TYT. I'm just going to say, too, there's a hype train going. Socially distanced, Kim's Sushi. They're all giving stuff out. Mm-hmm. We got some resubs. Might have more. Nice. And Obi-Wan Kenobi just gave out some subs. So it's a good morning already.
It is. And tomorrow, is it another movie watch night? Or is that next month?
That's next month, John. Okay. But John's going to be doing it.
I will be. And we're going to figure out what it is.
He doesn't have to do it alone. It's going to be dirty.
Okay, well, we're going to see. Anyway, we got a lot of stories that we're going to get to. If you are already here, as so many are, please hit the like button if you haven't already. It definitely helps more people know that the stream is live and they can come in and take part in the conversation, which we'll be replying to, whether it takes place on Twitch for the part of Brett, the YouTube comments, super chats, and tweets at #TDR Live. I'll be reading those as well. But with that said, we got a billion topics to get to, so let's jump into it, Brett.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Trump is doing his COVID press conferences once again. And look, he started off the week with acknowledging that things are going to get worse before they get better. And more information is rolling in, much of it not very good. So he is presenting information on a daily basis to us because I guess his doctors are busy or barred from taking part. So anyway, we've got him presenting the geographic distribution of COVID here.
Of the map, and this is, you have it right behind me. That's really very much indicating where the problems are. You see from that, it's in great shape, lots of it. The Northeast has become very clean. The country is in very good shape, other than if you look south and west, some problems. That'll all work out. On therapies.
Okay, so maybe not a huge difference in tone. Like, you look at that map, which is definitely showing where it is, and it looks good. Looks great to me.
So I'm a producer, not to brag, but I'm a producer, and as a producer, I put together materials for other people to produce or to present a lot of the time. And sometimes it's very clear that they did not, and this isn't here as much, but sometimes it's very clear that they did not look at it until that moment. They
I would
didn't
never
have
do that.
time. John would never do it. Anna would never do it. But I've done it in previous jobs where you're like, here's the thing, and then they get it, and then it's very obvious they did not even glance at it.
No.
But they think they're so damn smart that they can make their way through it, and then they're just like,
Well, this
no.
now sounds like it's actually an attack against possibly me.
I don't. It doesn't come to mind any
Yes.
particular time you do it. You're probably right.
You're probably right. Yeah, no, he sort of worked out what it was, that it was sort of county by county, I believe, a sort of distribution of how hot a particular area is. But the thing is that he goes into it with a very sort of trademark issue with dealing with maps that the right has. And you see this a lot, generally around elections, because the vote distribution by county map will go around after every election, and you'll look at it and you'll say, oh my God, that's a lot of red. Whether the Republicans win or whether they lose, that's a lot of red. What does that mean? Why is it so much? That's because states that have virtually no one in them, that are empty fields with some farmers, perhaps a little town, will take up a lot of space on the map. And that's what you're seeing in that map. There's a lot of space in the middle of the country that looks pretty good because we're not testing gophers for coronavirus. We're testing people, which live in cities, which are generally not in the very center of the country. There are some, and you saw some of that there. But the places where there are a lot of people, those are the areas that are hard hit.
It's so wildly amazing. Also, so he mentions the Northeast is pretty clean. There are cities there too.
Yeah.
They just have handled it by now. The by now part is very important. And it's interesting because along the way, as like yesterday, there was a report about Steve Mnuchin having this hilarious negotiation session with Mnuchin, Trump, and the Republican-held Senate. And in it, they were going to battle over the future of their aid package. And during that, what came out of that was Mnuchin saying that the Trump administration is not going to reward poorly managed states with aid. Mm-hmm. And obviously, this is an attack on democratically run states, saying that they have managed it poorly. What you just saw behind Trump in that giant map is that it's actually the Republican-held states that have been managed extremely poorly, but there is no way in hell that they're going to cut aid to those states because none of this has ever been about keeping people alive.
Exactly.
People don't, and I don't think that Trump supporters even really believe that he's good at solving stuff and doing things. They like him because he tries to win things. Mm-hmm. And the only thing he's trying to win is not the battle against coronavirus. He's trying to win the 2020 election. And you need to reverse filter all of the BS out when you're interpreting what he says on those press conferences.
Yes, I agree. And I'm glad that you laid out that obviously there are cities up and down the East Coast, and some of those were the hardest hit and then took it seriously. The issue was that a month and a half into that process, some states decided, we've been okay so far. We don't have to take this seriously. And they began to reopen very early. And we, at the time, if you're watching this, am I lying when I say we said that was a bad idea? And where are the new hotspots? It's stretching from Arizona through Texas to Georgia and Florida, the states that were so quick to open up. Now, those are not the only ones. California is pretty hard hit too, for probably a combination of different reasons. Part of it might be that we seem to have, stretching through Huntington Beach and Manhattan Beach, no offense, Brett, and all of that there's a lot of people that don't take this seriously. But It's complicated, and there are a lot of people in California. But a lot of these states that thought, we're fine with DeSantis sort of mocking other governors, saying, oh, you said it was going to hit Florida, but it didn't. How's that looking now? It's not looking good, whether you see it on a map or you actually look at the numbers.
Yeah, a lot of also, I'm going to get so into this, but essentially Huntington Beach is much further south.
It is.
It's down into the Orange County situation.
Orange County, which is the worst area for being responsible.
Where
San
most
Diego,
of the Karens are outside of Trader Joe's.
Yeah, it's the biggest diaspora of Karens worldwide. Okay, but I also want to give you numbers. So
it's known as the diaspora.
Nice.
It's the diaspora.
Dun, dun. Okay, so states reported more than 70,000 cases for the fourth time ever. This is yesterday. Hospitalizations are near their all-time high, bearing in mind that that is with the fact that a lot of hospitalization data isn't being reported and collected by groups like the COVID Tracking Project because of the changes that were instituted 2 weeks ago. Even with that, they're at their all-time high, and more than 1,000 deaths were reported for the third day in a row after nearly 2 months below 1,000. We are back up above that number. So those are the numbers. I mean, you can bring out a big map and sort of make it look like a lot of the country is doing okay. And thankfully, some states have not been super hard hit just yet. But people are dying at big rates, at rates similar to the early part of this pandemic. And that, I think, is what we should be focusing on if we want to stop it.
Yeah.
Now, that said, we did get one other update yesterday. After, for a couple of months, insisting that he was going to go ahead with his big convention, Donald Trump announced yesterday that they would, in fact, be canceling the physical mass gathering of people, but they do have something in the works.
We'll have a very nice something. We'll figure it out. It'll be online in some form. Maybe it'll be something even a little bit different. We have time. You know, we're talking about the end.
So we're going to have a very nice something. It's going to be online, or maybe it'll be different. It should be online. That seems like a good idea. If you're not going to be physical, I mean, I like typewritten letters. We all know that, but I think that the online thing's probably a good way if you're not going to physically be with each other. I don't know what else there is.
It's because he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
That's why. It's because the place he chose to have it, which was his second choice, because the person, this poorly run state of North Carolina, the governor and people in where they were going to have it said, no, unless you do it right. And he was like, no, well, I can't not do it wrong.
Yeah.
So he wanted to move to Jacksonville. If you want some fun watch the commercials made by the mayor of Jacksonville being like, we brought him here, man.
Oh, no.
And everyone in Jacksonville is now saying, please send him away immediately. This is worse than any of us could have imagined. You wouldn't believe how bad it is. And now what they're actually going to have, the thing that he's mentioned, like the other things that we have planned, is literally like a few delegates getting together in what is essentially like a ritualistic, like, I don't know, it's a ritual. And for a few hours, they're going to nominate Trump and be like, peace.
Yeah. I do like it. Like, I wish that it was safe to have them. I would want to go to the RNC and the DNC again. That was a great experience the last 2 times. But I'm glad. Look, while we're mocking it, I'm glad that they're not doing it. It would have been a terrible idea. People who went would have gotten it. They probably would have carried it back to states across the country. I do wonder, though, if, like, was Jacksonville going to pull out, or was it that they were getting indications that maybe people weren't going to show up? And
I think it's
they
all
didn't
of
want a repeat of the rally situation where no one's there.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, it's so meta and perfect and ironic that he's making this announcement at the revival of his COVID press conferences, which are themselves, originally they existed because he couldn't do in-person rallies, and they only stopped when he thought he could start doing in-person rallies again.
That's true.
Right? And now that he went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the casualties of that are literal Oklahomans and Brad Parscale, who's been demoted as a result of the utter failure of his attempt to build a arena in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now he wants to go back to these pressers, and the last end he needed to tie up to prove how untenable the proposition of having in-person events is, that even the die-hard Republican National Convention goers weren't going to go to the Republican National Convention. Mm-hmm. None of this is because he, again, wants to solve problems. He just wants to win. And he realized that the optics of an empty convention center are much worse than the optics of what the hell else was going on. You know,
of a Zoom call.
Of a Zoom call. And now it's worth saying that in terms of having the in-person delegates, a couple months ago, the Democrats were the first to belay it. But they're still going to have in Wisconsin Biden give a speech.
Yeah.
but everything else was going to be virtual. And I think I don't know if that's a good decision or not, but as long as they're doing things right, that like from an actual like health policy perspective, I'm fine with it. But it was very obvious that Trump has never prioritized health policy perspectives, but rather just trying to win an election.
Yeah, and look, I think you even if it's going to be digital, you want to have them in an impressive space, but we also know what it looks like when you have a big setup and you have no audience. That can be
I just
weird
watched the
too.
Dodgers yesterday, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was so happy to have baseball.
I'm glad for you. Anyway, we got one more story on coronavirus that we're going to turn to in just a moment. But first, I want to read a few of the super chats. We're going to try to go fast because we got so much still to go to. Kai Allen says, I know you have a lot of horrendous topics to cover, but have you considered putting Trump's recent emoluments cover-up on the rundown? I feel like we did talk about that most recent development a few weeks back.
Yeah, it was like
Maybe
a
I
week.
missed something since then.
The $300,000 something dollars. JR said the same exact thing for who I didn't see whoever said that, but like Kyle, JR said the same thing in the thing, and he's like, but it's tough. There's a lot of other things going on, and we all know about the emoluments.
Yeah,
and I think Jake's take was something like, Trump's not rich when he needs to like pull off $10,000 at a time schemes on people.
Exactly, that's true. He also suggests V for Vendetta for TYT movie, which I haven't seen in a long time, actually.
And they have to be on Amazon Prime just because of technology. So,
Crystal, thank you. Marty says, thanks for the laugh. Thank you for that. Frojo Baggins says, if John is Ernie, can he sing Rubber Ducky? No.
I believe it until I see that he can't.
Mm-hmm. F. Harvey says, I love you so much, guys. I love TDR Friday, and I definitely hear a similarity to your voice and Ryan Reynolds, Brett. Off topic. Let it put Brett, Aussie Pups for the win, John. Cheesy 90s boys band Heart Hands. You almost sort of did that right there. I was asking people to send an Australian Shepherd to me. They sent pictures, and I fear I wasn't specific enough. I wasn't asking for pictures. I want you to send me a puppy.
The best thing would be John, just like the internal turmoil from a moral perspective of John opening a box with a puppy in it that just showed up in the mail and having to weigh like the utter joy of having an Australian Shepherd against like the horrific ordeal that puppy had to go through to get to him. And him just being like, no, it's fine. Don't care.
I would think about that eventually. Immediately it would be, ah! Okay, Morik says, hello, we have a rising authoritarian government here in Poland, so I need to calm myself by watching how much worse things are in the U.S. Jeez, and the great fight you put up against them. I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you. And Raleigh Jones has a quote from Trump. Kaylee, death chart.
Oh my God, there was something I wanted to point out really quickly. I'll do it. There was a video we played on main show where Trump was like, I had the death rates. And could you send me that, Kaylee? And she hands him a piece of paper. And if you can see briefly what's on that piece of paper, and it's not like a document. It is one sentence, extremely huge.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So I might have to go back and try to get that to make a separate video of it. But it seems like there's someone with cue cards then off the side of the screen during those interviews.
And they just handed over one of them. Maybe. Wayne Sugihara says, happy Friday, Brett and John. Matt Gaetz is an insult to tools everywhere. Has anyone seen any change in the data stream or transparency since Trump cut out the CDC? So I follow the COVID tracking project on Twitter, and they talk about in their threads each day the issues that they're having with particular places. So that's not really an all-encompassing thing, but they do identify particular problems.
And also the CDC, just in terms of how they're responding to pressure from Trump, they re-released their guidelines for sending kids back to school, and they're much more friendly to Trump.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure that's their honest opinion. That's what they really believe it should be.
That's the weird crap they have to deal. So I just want there was a tier 5 tier 1 subs from Obi Mom Kenobi. I do believe that the Twitch stream is quite active. 10 tier 1 subs from Ancient Wisdom. Pink Lightbulb gifted 5. Iryman gifted 5. And those same names seem to be coming up with a lot of bits. Just Gen period. And some of the chats from the comments coming along with the bits, like Obi Mom Kenobi said, bits because I totally thought today was Saturday and it's not, but hey, at least TDR is here. Just Jed period gave 100 bits and said thanks. Nice. Second that, some sort of TDR t-shirt. I guess that's a response to something else. AKA Mark Twain wants a Dragon Squad T-shirt at Shop TYT, and I think
do
that's
too.
a great thing. Ancient Wisdom
it.
4 subs. Obi-Mom Kenobi gave another sub saying, "Yeet the rich." They have given 176 gift subs in this channel.
Wow,
Obi-Mom.
that's awesome. Thank you.
It is right to give her thanks and praise.
It
Epic
is.
subscribe, thank you.
Thank you.
Epic Michelin.
Okay, we got a couple of relatively quick stories we got to push through because there's still so much to do. Let's jump right into it. We've known now for weeks that Texas is one of the hardest hit areas in the country when it comes to COVID. I want you to take a look at what is happening right now in one particular county to deal with the massive rise in cases and hospitalizations. Starr County Health Authority on Tuesday implemented an ethics committee and a triage committee to review all coronavirus patients as they come in to determine what type of life-saving equipment and treatment they would likely require and whether they would likely survive. Those deemed too fragile or sick or elderly will be advised to go home to loved ones. There's nowhere to put these patients. The whole state of Texas and neighboring states have no ICU beds to spare for us, says Starr County Health Authority Dr. Jose Vasquez. So there are so many people coming in, they simply don't have the resources or the beds to take them. They can't send them anywhere nearby because those are all full too. So now they have set up a panel to decide who gets treatment and who gets to just go home and die with their families.
So they're panels of death.
Mm-hmm.
Death panels. Well, that only exists because of our universal healthcare system, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, we don't have that.
Yeah.
So death panels happened in a way consistent with how they've always existed, by the way.
Yes.
Or actually, this is a new one. This is mismanagement and lack of space versus, we just don't want to give you service because we don't have to, according to our business model.
This isn't a money-saving measure. This is we literally have a bed that many people need. We have to decide who would it actually help to put there. And I'm not, by the way, I tweeted about this, and if it seems like I'm criticizing the doctors, that's not what I'm doing here. I'm criticizing the government that made the situation that resulted in this area 5 months into the pandemic being so hard hit that they have to make these decisions. And this is one county, but many other counties are going to end up in similar situations. I have a family member, I'm not going to go into details, on a ventilator right now that might not be able to stay on it much longer because there's a limit on how long you can stay on it. Partially because there's so many people that need those ventilators in this particular state that is the hardest hit right now when it comes to this.
And that was the central argument behind closing things down and putting social distance orders. Everyone who said, we just got to let everybody get it and it'll pass. Well, more people will die if you overload the system with too many people needing medical equipment that doesn't exist. And not to mention, and every bit of it underscores a policy failure from the president, because all those bits of medical equipment, the kinds that could flatten the curve, he failed on. The testing to identify who has it and what to do with them and tracing, failed on that. The kind of stuff that keeps people alive, can't get it, failed on that. And now he's trying to reopen everything in a way that benefits him personally, but every time he encounters something that could hurt him negatively as a consequence of people actually having coronavirus, oh, well, then I'm going to succeed in that because it affects me, but not really putting together that the best way to solve all this is to solve the coronavirus problem. But he doesn't want to do that because he doesn't realize that his election is related to whether he actually solves the coronavirus problem.
Yeah, he has made the decision. He changes the way he expresses this from time to time, but he's made the decision. It is best to just pretend we've solved it. Yeah. And I just want him to understand, what if you did? Yeah. What if you actually saved lives and saved the economy in so doing?
And the stuff that he's bragging about is so disconnected from the skills necessary to do it. He's still bragging about his cognitive, he's still bringing it up that it was important to talk about, and it's so disconnected, but needs to be absolutely connected to the problem of coronavirus. Yeah, I'm sorry to be the guy who reads his tweets, but I imagine a situation, the only reason for Trump to be bragging about his cognitive tests is if the scientists are all gathered around an electron microscope and they're like, oh my God, our computers are down. And the answer is right here in front of us. It's 5 words.
Yeah.
We need someone to be able to remember them for 20 minutes and then we'll solve coronavirus. That's the only reason he should be bragging about being able to remember 5 words, but it's not the case, and he shouldn't be bragging about it.
Exactly. And, Texas has, he's encouraging wearing masks and things like that, which some other governors aren't. But to take a look at the continued mismanagement, Starr County Judge Eloy Vera said he will likely issue shelter-at-home orders for that county later this week. The orders are not legally binding, since the governor's reopening orders supersede local authority. But Vera said he hopes residents will voluntarily comply. That's where we're at. I hope that people will do the right thing, because we can't make them, because the Republicans above us are literally stopping us from trying to save people's lives. And we've seen that. It's happening in Texas. It's happening in Georgia. And Donald Trump, while he isn't necessarily doing the blocking, he's trying to block funds during the next round of stimulus. He's not providing leadership. There's literally no strategy when it comes to contact tracing or things like that. Yeah, this is not just a cumulative effect of all of the failures of the last 5 months. It is an ongoing failure today and tomorrow and Sunday and Monday. They're going to continue to fail because they literally don't care.
And it's also, Make America Great Again is rooted in this concept that there was a time when America was better. And that in that time, I've said this before, but the only thing that they're really talking about must be racial discrimination. Because think back to World War II. I remember that my dad told me, my grandfather told him, we have to conserve all our, medals and everything for the war effort, and sent the kids out to go find medals to essentially sell to the War Department to make munitions. And people did that. They did that to save the world from stuff far away.
Yes.
In this situation, we are literally trying to save the lives of Americans.
Yeah.
And we can't even do that.
Or won't. We could.
Right. Absolutely.
But won't, probably. Okay, let's roll into perhaps some of the implications of this. This election is not necessarily going the way that Donald Trump would like in national polls and battleground polls. He is doing pretty poorly, but his campaign does have a response to that, and it was demonstrated earlier today on Fox and Friends by Hogan Didley.
Touched on some polls. Most of those are fake, I'll be honest. They oversample Democrats. But let's also talk about another instance here.
The people that do the polls, they don't do a fake. They do a really good job. They might not be accurate in the end. I don't know. But they do a great job.
Well, doesn't accuracy determine? Well, I know the people are great, but doesn't the accuracy determine how great it is?
I'm not saying they're Nostradamus, but I'm just saying they're math and they're professional. So I just don't call the Fox News pollsters fake.
Yeah. Well, the methodology's flawed at the very least. How's that?
That is what the president has said before.
Yeah, so professional pollster Hogan Didley thinks that the methodology is flawed. And so he says the thing that every moron says. They oversample Democrats. They don't oversample Democrats. They sample from the population. And then, if there is a reason to believe that the sample is not representative, for instance, if they ended up with more Democrats than it is believed are actually there, they then adjust. They weight the results to make it representative. That's what they do. But these morons, who are some of the most powerful people in politics and media, don't know that. There was pushback against Hogan Didley, but not about the methodology. Do they not know that? Can they not learn that? Steve Doocy, Kilmeade, whoever I forget the name of the one in the middle.
Ainsley
Earhart. Have they learned literally nothing about polling after cumulative decades of covering the news and polls?
They were told when they took the job, and the things they did to get that job, they were told it would be so much easier than it is right now. Because it used to be you just do what the president says and what the people running your network say, and then you're fine. But what happens when the people who run your network are saying something just the slightest bit different from what the president says? Then you're an idiot like Kilmeade. You're just like, I was told there'd be more recipes that I'm sharing on this morning show. And now I don't know. I have two masters. What do I how? And that's what you see. I was crazy that you didn't see Newsbot 6000 just be like,
Yeah.
explode.
Can we just get a chimpanzee in here that I can cook waffles with? That's all I signed up for. I don't want to talk to Hogan Didley. And that is both me being Steve Doocy, but also I would like that.
How did Hogan Didley get there? Wasn't he like a mouthpiece for Huckabee or Santorum in like 2000 nothing?
I'm going to guess that that's probably the case.
His parents are both pleated shorts. It's when pleated shorts have a one-night stand with a horizontally thick striped polo shirt. That is Hogan Didley's parents. Just like southern floppy tailgating douchebags had a one-night stand and dumped the baby in a dumpster because they couldn't tell their priest. Sorry, not their priest, their pastor.
Jeez. You were partially correct. Hogan Didley served as Director of Media Operations for Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. So, yes, you're right. Good job. Let's talk about the implications of this, though. They can try in the Trump, campaign to deny the polls. You can do that. But as of right now, it is looking like his performance over the past few months is going to cause damage to him, but also to other Republicans. Yesterday, the Cook Political Report, so this is a nonpartisan organization that tries to do projections based on polling and other analysis to figure out what's going to happen in an election. They moved their outlook to a net gain of 5 to 7 Senate seats for the Democrats, and now says Democrats are slightly favored to win the Senate majority. They also shifted their outlook for 20 House races towards Democrats last week, signaling that Democrats stand to widen their lead in the House. And they currently forecast that President Trump's troubles could affect Republicans down the ballot, calling the incumbent president the, quote, decided underdog against former Vice President Joe Biden. So as his polling goes down, that is going to start to have an effect, possibly in changing people's minds, but also possibly in not enthusing them to come out and vote in the first place. And that is not going to just have sort of an abstract effect. It's going to affect potentially specific people like Martha McSally, whose race has now gone from a toss-up to leaning Democratic. Joni Ernst, David Perdue, Tina Smith, and the open race in New Mexico as well have all shifted. Some were likely Democrat and now are considered solid, and you have a couple of additional toss-ups as well. So this is not a guarantee that the Democrats are going to win the Senate, especially considering we have 101 days until the election. But it is looking better for them, probably in no small part, thanks to the mismanagement of 2 simultaneous domestic crises by the president.
Yeah, 2 simultaneous domestic crises, or one ongoing enormous domestic and international crisis. Yeah, that's. I would say first, I've never heard of Cook Political Report, so remember that. I'm gonna do things that are like remember to actually vote.
They've been around for a long time.
I know, but okay, so that's the least important part. I would also say that in the meantime, seeing this information does not mean that it will actually come to fruition. And there's 2 key factors behind why you need to actually follow through on stuff. And I'm talking to everyone in America. One, there is still time for everyone to do what they need to do to make coronavirus be less of a thing. And it seems like in canceling the in-person Republican National Convention, and there are multiple governors who have broken with Trump's suggestions and either said they are putting stay-at-home orders in place or are have already actively made that happen. So Ohio, Texas, Utah, Arkansas, Alabama have all been in that category I just mentioned. And so if that happens, this is the kind of thing that the same way people were saying if the economy fails due to coronavirus, but then it's over and then folks start rehiring, he gets to say, oh my God, there was a giant jump. We have to remember what a terrible captain of the ship he was. He ran us into the iceberg. And if we're all floating ashore on dinghies afterwards, we still can't absolve him of responsibility.
Yeah.
And the other thing is simultaneously, Mitch McConnell is actively defunding any assistance that might go toward helping people vote. And as we saw in Kentucky, his own state, the last minute, they closed all but one polling place. And we all remember the images of people outside saying, please let me vote in the lead up to that Senate, or in that day when they were voting in the Senate primary.
Yeah, and related, I saw that I think it was an internal Republican document about the ongoing negotiations for the next round of stimulus. They had down for election assistance $0 with a note saying, expect the Democrats to push for more. So, and look, Donald Trump, okay, I'm going to say this. Nobody tell him. This is just between all of us. Don't tell him. If he wants to win the election, do you know what he could do?
What?
He could do an about face and actually deal with the pandemic. Because it turns out that when you poll people, their view of how you've handled a crisis is correlated with how it's affecting your state. Take a look at these polls. As Arizona, Florida, Georgia, and Texas have been overcome with cases, the approval of the governor's handling of it has gotten worse. So, like, people got sick, and then the people got mad at the governor because so many people were getting sick. Now, that's just state data, but I believe that you can extrapolate to the country at large. And if you do a better job and less people get sick and die, they'll think, hey, he didn't kill as many of us. That's good. And maybe you could get reelected. Crazy,
the Republicans are driving down voter turnout in every possible way, either by defunding the ability to do it or closing polling places, or just killing people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just making fewer voters.
Exactly.
Good for them. That was their goal, so they did accomplish it. But this is absolutely it. Everyone, and that's the thing, is there's more people as a result of social media know what's going on in politics. But do they fully understand what's going on in every possible way? Does it ever change their opinion, what they do see? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
But something like this is big enough where people just go, oh my God, the president's an idiot.
Yeah. And his idiocy isn't a joke. It's dangerous. Yeah. Okay, before we launch into the next bit of Trump's idiocy, Arky74 said, hello from Denmark. Love the show. Stay safe. To you as well. But you're in Denmark, not the United States, so you're probably going to be okay. Jackie Elliott, thank you. Matthias Giovanni said Sharpie time. I think that was talking about the map. I was totally expecting that as well, that he's going to no, it's going to be white out. He's going to white out the counties that are red on the map. Okay. Riley Jones says, I have a 10-year-old King Charles Cavalier and actively looking for a puppy so I can stop crying over the state of everything. People are like, dude, get another dog. Stop watching the news. Couldn't hurt. Kai Allen says, supposedly the Scottish Trump Golf Club issue was investigated by the State Department and the findings were mothballed, and one of the fired IGs was investigating. I don't know if is that related to the British Open thing? I was reading about that recently. His attempt to get that.
Sorry, I was trying to deal with audio issues. Wife, if you can show up from the toilet zone. If you listened. If our sadly our
what?
That's the door. There's a door I can see through. Unfortunately, it goes through the bathroom. Tell me.
That is unfortunate.
I'm going to get in trouble. She's coming out.
Okay.
Brett sounds good now.
Slapped
okay,
on
she's
live.
not mad at me saying her and toilet zone so close together. Thank God.
Why would she be mad? How irrational and unreasonable of her to be mad for being thrown under the toilet.
Thank God I can no longer adjust my camera, or you would see I was bright red right now.
I think we're getting it. Okay, there's also a super chat from Franklin Sharpslicer, who says, they're not gophers, they're prairie dogs. Gates and AOC's nemesis are gophers, but we are a Repubo state, cowboy boots, not loafers. But we're not in a Wyoming bubble. Our COVID has more than double. Fug the king, do well. Thank you, Franklin, for your poetry. We appreciate it. And let's see, just briefly, Galfar said on Twitch that IGN is bringing back G4 TV. Huh, that's a throwback.
Really?
That is interesting. It's been
interesting.
A while.
Maybe Brett could get a big contract again.
That's not a good idea. Let's not do that.
I like money.
Okay.
Socially Distance gave 1,200 bit, more than that.
Thank
oh
you,
my God, so many bits. And one of them was, I just want to say, Brett is the only one that gives us major attention here on Twitch, and why we
Twitch
show
right now.
love. Goosh, goosh, goosh. Brett's the best, best, best. Everybody loves Brett.
I
He's
just
the best,
read
best,
a
best.
Twitch comment.
I wasn't
Next
paying attention. I was
TYT
talking about
reporter
James
said on Twitch, is Bart in here? Probably. I think he's probably the... Oh, yeah, no, he did. He pulled that out. But he says, you won't see me because I'm using my power of invisibility. That's from Bart. Eclectic Miscellanea tweeted us at hashtag TDR Live saying, did I hear Dragon Squad? Like Lazy Ditzy Chick said, 2IT Army is also called Dragon Squad. Our leaders, the one and only Hartson for California. We're fighting media bias. Come check us out. John and Brett, can you pretty please give us a live read? I just did.
Oh, my G.
Thank you. Okay, with that, lots to get to still, and time she is a-wasting, so let's jump back into it. Another devastating ad I want to close out the week with. This focused on Donald Trump's authoritarian response to the civil rights protests that are ongoing in a number of cities. We're going to have some caveats on this, but I want you to take a look at this ad because it is just brutal.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction.
In the good old days, they used to treat them very, very rough. And when they protested once, you know, they would not do it again so easily. We've become weak. The problem is nobody wants to hurt each other anymore.
And when you see these thugs being thrown into the back of a paddy wagon, rough, I said, please don't be too nice.
These are people. These are animals. And I'll never forget the scene. It's not supposed to be a beautiful scene, but to me it was. It was like a knife cutting butter right through. Long.
Let's be clear. This is not political theater. This is far more dangerous than that. This is an attack on our democracy.
You will get shot. We're doing a great job in Portland.
I mean, okay, so do you want the caveats now or reactions first? What's your reaction?
My reaction is that the thing Trump has going for him is that he's ridiculous. All the things that he's saying and all the things that he's doing, I was wondering, was Hitler that ridiculous sounding? Or did he seem less insane and silly? Mm-hmm. Like Trump, what Trump has going for him are the silly, stupid moments because they undercut they're like the spoonful of nonsense that helps the fascism go down.
You're probably right. And look, really fast, there have been a lot of analyses of the absurdity of dictators, and it is not a rare thing. They tend to be like Trump in some ways in terms of ridiculous styles, ridiculous hair, ridiculous statements, and things like that. Look, I can't give the analysis that those books do, but it is actually tied in with the movement and why they come to trust those leaders. But yeah, you're right. But then there's also quotes like those. Now, of course, the vast majority of those quotes are not about these protests. They are about protests, some at his rallies, some outside of the White House, some him like opining about a mythical past that was not great when it existed. He is talking about protests and how we need to be brutal towards those people, if not about these particular protests. The last video in particular of the cop saying, if you follow us, you will be shot. I believe that's actually from San Diego, but it is from just a month or two ago. So again, those caveats, obviously this is inflammatory, but a lot of that footage we've shown you before. It is going on. And the response to that is not Trump trying to bring everyone together and figure out what can we do to reform the police. Now, clearly, I'm Trump. I don't agree with everything BLM does, but we can perhaps come to some idea of a compromise. No, it's I'm going to take what we did in Portland and I'm shipping it to as many cities as I can. And we're going to have more on that in just a little minute. But I think that that's pretty powerful. I mean, seeing those ads, and his fans love those sorts of quotes about knocking people over the head and don't be too nice. And, I'll pay your bills if you bloody them and you get arrested. That one's going to be effective. Yeah.
It's insane. Everyone's called out all of this internal hypocrisy. Like all the folks on the right saying, the government's trying to put their boot on our throats and take away our personal liberties. And so we need to be prepared for when that happens. And it's like, that's happening. That's happening right now explicitly. There's video of people in Portland just standing there and then suddenly getting attacked by armed, secret, unidentified police.
Yeah.
And that's bad. That's real bad. And then another aspect of it is you see the ads that Trump's trying to run, and the people who are sharing these images ended up cell phone owning, because we covered this yesterday on Main Show, but I pitched it because it's so ridiculous that in these ads, the Trump administration is trying to warn you how bad things might get under Biden. But the video they're using is from the Trump era.
Yeah.
It is that
I don't
bad.
get it.
Are you saying that if we have Biden, there will be a chance that it could be as bad as it is now? Well, I'd take that chance because I know how bad it is now.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to say that Biden's for defunding the police, which he's not.
Yeah.
So that was a political move by Biden that now he gets to say, and that his operatives said, like, no, don't say that you're for defunding the police, so that when they make these ads, you can say, actually, no, I'm for it, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That we would try to change him to have a more like, you know, a different approach to it so that you could change the way we fund police departments. But in the meantime, Trump is just absolutely outing himself for failing America.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's amazing. I think it was like Boris Epstein is the one. Yeah, it was like he got dunked on so much. It's like, you can't say this could be whatever. It is. He's been around for years. And Trump, like, he was asked on Hannity. We're going to turn to a Hannity video in just a second. He was asked on Hannity, 4 years from now, if you're reelected, what will the country look like? And Trump just said all of the same things he said while running in 2016. But it's like, but what do you mean in 4 years? You've been president in 3 years. Why aren't you doing any of that stuff? Like, anyway, let's turn to the Hannity stuff, though. When Trump announced this week that he was going to be doing a surge into American cities, we didn't necessarily know exactly what he meant by that. Obviously, there's a lot of his contractors, his mercenaries, his whatever in Portland, and they were going to be going to Chicago. But when he says surge, he's not just using, like, the terminology that we used when sending more troops to Iraq. He's talking about levels of additional soldiers on the streets of American cities that basically we had in Iraq.
We'll go into all of the cities, any of the cities. We're ready. We'll put in 50,000, 60,000 people that really know what they're doing, and they're strong, they're tough, and we could solve these problems so fast. But as you know, we have to be invited in. If they invited us in, we'd go in with 50,000, 75,000 people. We would be able to solve it like you wouldn't believe and quick. But they just don't want to ask, maybe for political reasons, but they don't want to ask. It's a disgrace.
Okay, so he says there a couple times he has to be invited in, which makes me glad because that's not what he's been saying this whole week. And in fact, they don't want him in the cities he's already in.
But also, he's describing his forces as though they're a vampire.
Describe for me. What do you mean?
Aren't those the rules? Let the right one in? Like, a vampire can't come into your house unless you invite them in?
If only the mayor of Chicago would let us in and maybe take all their garlic for the pizza and put it outside.
I don't want to suck your blood, just me. Secret police, interesting way of putting it. I'm thirsty. I want water.
Okay. That is a funny observation. There, though, he is saying 50 to 60,000 people, cops, mercenaries,
and not just that,
contractors.
They literally use the term surge because it worked in Iraq.
Yeah. Let's talk about what that would actually represent. So, in theory, DHS has 240,000 total employees of all varieties, and as of 2016, the agency employed roughly 62,000 full-time law enforcement officers. That is 38,000 for CBP, 12,000 ICE officers, you got 5,000 Secret Service agents, and nearly 1,000 Federal Protection Service agents. There's an additional 44,000 in the FBI, the ATF, and the DEA. So that would be effectively taking all of Border Patrol, all of ICE, all of Secret Service, and then drawing from the ATF and the FBI, and then sending them all over. which is obviously insane and couldn't happen, and conservatives wouldn't even support taking ICE and CBP to do that. Which then begs the question, well then who will they be sending? Because they're clearly not going to send every FBI official to these cities. What it means is they're going to be hiring more contractors, which is a really nice gussied up way of saying mercenaries. They're going to be hiring mercenaries and they're going to be dispatching, and he is going to be choosing them to be what two characteristics did he say in that video? Strong and tough. He's going to be hiring mercenaries to go in American streets and brutalize protesters and be strong and tough.
And there's so much happening. There's so much to this. So on the one hand, you have, he says where they're not doing it for political reasons. Okay, fine. What political reasons? Those are already lost political causes. Like city politics is already lost political cause for Trump, period. So it's not like they're going to alienate the elected officials any more than they are by an ongoing crisis. It's going to make it worse. But the villain in all of this is still going to be Trump on those local races.
Yeah.
Not to mention the general failure he's having. But just from a strategic perspective, in states that might be toss-ups, this is really horrifying. In states that might be toss-ups, if Trump can neutralize the vote in the cities, then he could potentially win those states. And one way that we hear of in failed states, many, for whatever reason, failed states, is that the central government puts essentially like a barricade around the polls and won't let people vote.
Yeah.
And his actions are consistent with that strategy. Now, even Mitch McConnell's looking around and going like, man, we can do this on paper. I'm not sure we need to actually send troops. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's been trying to do and succeeding in doing for years. Trump is explicitly sending troops, federal troops to cities to do what? Well, the original reason that he put out for it was there's protests in Portland that are getting too violent. Too violent. So I need to protect the federal buildings. And Chad Wolf says, well, that is under our jurisdiction to protect the federal buildings. Now, typically the people protecting federal buildings on behalf of the federal government are like Smithsonian guards.
Yeah.
They have short sleeve, like white uniforms. You know what I mean? Like it's the short sleeved police. That's the difference. Mm-hmm. Here he's sending other folks to go in and physically make that happen. And it's really, really terrifying. But shift to the next move that he made, which is in Albuquerque and Chicago. All pretense of protecting federal buildings is gone.
Yeah.
Now he wants to help with the murder rate. Well, murder is not that kind of crime. There are police officers to handle murder. And this is definitely not the kind of thing that will cut down on murders. He wants to eliminate the federal system. He wants to eliminate federalism. Mm-hmm. And this is so ridiculously, hilariously ironic from a Republican president. A Republican president who should say, handle it yourselves.
Yeah.
That's what they always say. The funny, hilarious thing that Republicans always say is like, I shouldn't have a job to do. You do it. But instead, he is going and invading cities for political reasons and just straight up narcissism.
Exactly. Yeah. And I guess the silver lining is if they're going in to stop the murders, then the only thing we have to do to get rid of them is just not have crimes anymore. And then they'll all go. And then we'll be great. Yay.
But the way he's doing that is something that should, like every QAnon person should be like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is what Q warned us about.
He wished best wishes to Jeffrey Epstein's groomer and fellow criminal. And they got past that man without skipping a beat. They figured out all these ways that actually confirms everything Q has said. On One American News, I almost made it a story. One American News, they went on this long rant about Twitch banning QAnon accounts. And then they said, this is One American News. It's like next up to Fox. It's the conservative media. They're like, no. Q is the new normal. It's the new mainstream. Everyone has caught on to how much Q has actually taught us and has correctly predicted. This is not like 4chan. This is his apparently favorite media outlet after Fox.
Of course it would be. No one knows how to watch that.
That's true. I don't know either. Yeah, and so like they got to do something about this, because honestly, we still don't know who these people are necessarily. There have been particular people, like one of the mercenaries had his face shown. He had apparently like brutally beaten some people, and so they were asking for him to be identified because they wanted to press charges, these protesters, and the authorities were like, no, we're not telling you who this is. I guess there's just no accountability for these. Remember, like, there were the cops that like pushed over that activist and cracked his skull open.
Mm-hmm.
We found out who those cops were. Not these. These mercenaries are anonymous, whether their faces are covered or not, and the vast majority are, and they're all wearing camo, even though they're in an urban setting, and it's not urban camo. No, you don't get to know who they are, and you better not follow them.
Right. So to bring it back to the video you played about the Gestapo ad, like, that stuff's wildly in context. All that footage, it happened.
Yeah.
All the points being made are accurate.
Yeah. Okay, Brett, let's read just a quick couple of super chats, but I'm going to go first to Twitch because I care about Twitch even if you and others don't.
Obi-Wan
Kenobi.
Dare you to read Thunder Voice.
Let me see if it's here. Really fast. Obi-Wan Kenobi said, TYT and TDR too strong, baby. Thank you, Obi. What's Thunder Voice? What did they say?
John barely reads Twitch chat when Brett isn't here. Still love you, though.
I do. It's just, you know, like people with the super chats they gave. Obviously, I've got to prioritize that. But I do read it. In fact, Brooke Mark says, Brett tells John not to read Twitch stuff because Brett likes to be the big hero. That was on Twitch, and I read it.
My wife.
She tweeted that from, like, curled around the toilet.
And now she's back on my side.
She is.
Not that toilet. It's disgusting. Socially distanced. Thanks for the 1,000 bits.
Thank you. And John's Venn diagram of desire over on Twitch said Dragon Squad members jacket too. That's a great idea and an obvious slam dunk. But the issue with all of these ideas is that TYT will literally never make merchandise for TDR. That is apparently an unspoken rule. Even when I give mock-ups of shirts, it'll never happen.
I'll make it happen, John.
It'll never happen.
It's just it's like Will Ferrell in Austin Powers, like it happened 3 times and he needs to answer the question.
Yeah.
I think we just need like 3 people to send the same mock-up and then they'll make it.
Sure. And I'm not criticizing anyone in particular. It's just I have tried and it will never happen.
Yeah, I know. I want to do coffee mugs for Happy Half Hour that say it's just coffee, I swear.
That's good. I like that.
Super Megs, I don't know if I called out your 2 tier 1 subs, but thank you for the gift on behalf of whoever received them.
Thank you. Okay, Behoove sent us in a super chat saying, John, can you look into China currently sending hundreds of fishing boats that are all around the protected Galapagos? I will have to because I hadn't actually seen anything about that yet. Lesian says, we are all afraid for you. The world is watching the USA in horror. Stay safe. Greetings from Norway. Thank you, Lesian in Norway. Let's see. Gogo Latata. I don't get this reference. Says, you must be Max. I thought that immediately upon hearing Trump's statements. Is that Mad Max? I don't get the quote. Searching for answers like, a spoonful of nonsense helps the fascism go down. And Captain Obvious, thank you. Sketchy Mom, thank you for your super chat, which just came in. We do appreciate that.
We also, there's a dad, liberal dad, I don't know what just happened, but liberal dad. So we have a mom and a dad now.
Yeah.
We're giving out things. Duvago, thanks for this ancient
Nice,
wisdom
thank you.
too. But yeah, it's
Thank
so
you.
funny.
Okay, I will be reading more super chats at close of the show, but we do still have a very important segment to get to. Brett, are you prepared to go first this time?
Sure.
Sure. Well, let me introduce you. We'll jump right into it. Do I have that? I do. It is the end of the week, and thus it's time to take out the trash. Brett, it has been some week. I feel soiled by all of the garbage. I don't know how you were able to choose just one person, but tell us, who is your garbage person of the week?
There were a lot of people that I didn't choose, so that's why I mentioned them earlier in the show. But this is a pretty straightforward one. It's Panera Karen. Panera Karen, we join her in a Panera Bread somewhere in Schaumburg, Illinois, who knows, where she is standing And she has obviously entered this place with the intention of not wearing a mask and filming it.
Yeah.
And she proceeds to get called out by the people there and make a very intense scientific argument as to why these masks don't work. Hit it.
Can we get this lady out of here, please?
Sure.
No, they're not going to serve you because you're not wearing a mask. That's exactly right. That's exactly right, you dummy. Just throw on a mask. Don't be such a moron. You selfish. Get out of here. You're selfish. No, because you're putting all of us at risk. Oh, come on. Up, lady.
You think that mask is going to protect you? You fart off your ass. You can smell it.
Dude, just grow up.
You think that mask is going to protect you?
Just grow up. Grow up and get out. Thank you.
She is right about one thing. You do, quote, fart off your ass.
Did she head to Panera from like Chipotle? Why is this the first thing you're thinking of?
You always wonder what the thing is they want to do. And for her, I didn't know what that, I thought it was just a generic, like, I'm going to go to Panera Bread. I'm going to get kicked out. I'm going to film it.
Yep. That's it.
And I thought that was it. But that's not it, John. She, she came up with this ass fart thing. And that's what she wanted to do. She's like, I'm going to go to Panera Bread and I'm going to play it slow. Mm-hmm. And eventually I'm going to break out my, you fart through your butthole and he did, in the bag don't work.
Oh my God.
And that's what she did. It is so good. I love her.
You fart. And she points. Oh, a fart.
Oh, that's right.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
You shared this with me. Or you mentioned it in a show as I have to dig my earbud out of my ear. Disgusting.
Mm-hmm. I want you to point to the part of your body that was farted off. But she believes that argument is grounded in science. Like, that is how she's presenting it. I don't know why you didn't introduce her as Panarin. I think that should be her name. But also, I will just quickly say, and I understand this makes me the bad guy. You want to say that she's being selfish, all that. Don't call her the B word. Like, I don't like it. You don't need to yell at people, especially in a crowded public location and everything. I don't like it. But she is threatening all of them. She went in there to do that, to film that thing and to do the fart thing that you said. And it's so weird that, like, we've had that for months now. You went 3 months and now you're doing that? Or has she been doing this like every day and this is the first one that took off only because of the addition of the fart point?
The Panera. I don't know why going on in a Panera Bread is so perfect. Because it's like, Panera is the relic of the, like, when it's like the 1,000 ships that were launched by the Foreman Grill ended up being a sur la table that people were like, oh crap, I don't want to buy a panini press, but Panera was like, we got you covered. And we're coming to a nondescript strip mall in your urban sprawl. And then just a place that's like the utter privilege. And I'm a suburbanite. I've always lived in suburbs. And I now live in the part of Los Angeles that is essentially all the benefits of a suburb. And that's why I love it. Like, it's a homing device. I know how far I am from a Chili's at all times. But, like, the peak of privilege is a strip mall like that with the Panera, your dry cleaners, your everything right there. And no matter where you are in America, as long as you're so far from city center, you have all the same access to every convenience.
Yeah.
And she goes there, and in Panera, where the line is 2 people long, can't put her mask on for 2 people to pick up her order.
Yeah, I've never. I mean, it has happened before in American history, but like, you know how there's like virtue signaling, there's like weakness signaling. Like, I can't wear this mask for even a second, and that makes me the strongest person here. That is the movement. It is elevating scientific ignorance and an unwillingness to realize how embarrassing you're being, and like proclamations of your own fake invented bodily weakness as the most important virtue that a person can have.
It's camping. Weird. It's camping. It's like, I've solved these problems, but I'm going to go to great lengths to give them back to me.
Yeah. Who's the comedian's got a great thing about that? Anyway, okay, that's a great garbage person. The guy who talks about food all the time. He talks about Hot Pockets. Gaffigan. Yeah, he's got a great one on he says he describes himself as indoorsy. Anyway, okay, with that, now it's my time. Oh, and by the way, there's going to be a bit to this. Bear with me. I'm going to walk you through it. For my garbage person of the week, I have got someone who has occasionally ended up in the can. Tucker, with that look. They told him to do a different face. Turns out he can't. So, that's Tucker Carlson, but why? Why back in the garbage, Tucker? Well, after trout fishing for 4 days, following his head writer being fired for turning out to be a vicious racist, he came back, and on Monday, Tucker Carlson railed against the New York Times on his primetime show, claiming that a freelance writer and photographer, who he named, I will not, so as to not contribute to what I'm going to describe to you, but he named them specifically, were trying to, quote, injure my wife and kids so that I will shut up and stop disagreeing with them. Carlson said the paper was planning to publish the location of his home and didn't know why they were writing a story on him. So he goes on to say, editors there know exactly what will happen to my family when it does run. I called them today and I told them, but they didn't care. They hate my politics. They want this show off the air. If one of my children gets hurt because of a story they wrote, they won't consider it collateral damage. They know it's the whole point of the exercise, to inflict pain on my family, to terrorize us, to control what we say. So he's saying New York Times is going to publish a story that will have my literal address so that my kids will be murdered, and that's what the New York Times wants. Now, they responded to this by saying the New York Times does not plan to publish Tucker Carlson's residence, which Carlson was aware of before his broadcast tonight. Because as he alluded to, he had a conversation with them. And they told him, we're of course not going to publish your actual address, you lunatic. But that didn't stop him from going on the air and talking about it. And what happened after Tucker Carlson did this whole story about a story that was supposedly going to be published that was never going to be published? Well, the right spent a couple of days applauding him for his courage in calling it out and attacking the New York Times for a story that hadn't been published and they say was not ever going to be published. They were attacked for days, but not just the New York Times. Turns out it gets more specific than that, because in an interview with the Eric Wemple blog, one of the two that was named by Tucker Carlson alleged that about an hour after the Carlson accusations, someone attempted to break into his main home while he and his wife were present. Quote, it was like a booming sound, someone trying to get in, or doors up until that segment had actually been locked. Had been unlocked. When the segment aired, everything got locked, and I'm glad it did, because within an hour, somebody was here. We sort of put ourselves in the safest place we could, away from the windows, and called police, and waited it out. The other, again, not showing the full name, said he had received thousands of emails stemming from Carlson's Monday night monologue, most of which were some mix of abusive, threatening, and hateful. Family members, he said, had received direct threats as well. Though no one had shown up at his doorstep, he notified local police about the harassment. Among those who were harassed, said one of the sources, were Times reporters who weren't even involved in the story. Other victims include people with similar names, such as those who had the misfortune of showing up in database searches. According to a Times source, some of the people on the receiving end contacted police, bewildered and unclear as to why they were being targeted. But they were being targeted because Tucker Carlson, in a story ostensibly about how unfair it would be for him to be targeted by the media, put out their names, and they were targeted because immediately, as the segment was going on, his rabid followers started searching for the addresses of the people he named. And they got those addresses, and they also got other people, and they began trying to break into their homes, sending death threats, sending them to reporters that weren't even involved in the story that literally never ran and wouldn't have ever contained what he asserted it did. So in an attempt to protect himself, he got those people harassed. And now they worry about the possibility of them being killed.
So I disagree with one thing you said.
What's
in that it was a attempt to protect himself.
Yeah, it's an attempt to distract from the racist writer and the fact that he... Well, really fast, just to be clear, from both the racist writer, but also the sexual harassment allegations that awaited him when he returned from his trout fishing story. That is why his first story was about how he was the big victim, and he made up this entire thing. But sorry, continue.
And implied in all of that is his explicit attempt to do the thing that he's implying that the New York Times would maybe have eventually done.
Exactly.
Which is to dock somebody and send folks to their house.
Yeah. Now, he didn't explicitly do it, but he named them very specifically, appearing to know, since you would have to in a segment about how important it is to hide people's identity when there is a mob that could potentially come for them. He named them. Again, they were never going to list his address. He had been told as much before he went on the air, but he is willing, in the same way that he said the New York Times is going to, he's willing to risk them being threatened and potentially hurt if that gets the heat off of him a little bit over the sexual harassment and the racist writer. That is absolute garbage.
The most hilarious... This is a very serious and terrible story. The most hilarious thing is that anyone needs any information about what Tucker Carlson's house looks like. Close your eyes. You know exactly where he lives and what it's like. Period. He is a Swanson broth heir. He and all his Tucker Swanson broths are rabid nonsense people. Tucker lives in a castle on a cloud and has since the day he was born.
Yeah.
And has never... And Tucker has only faced one kind of adversity in his entire life. I'm sure people he's known have died, so have mine, so toe-to-toe butthole. But Tucker Carlson's adversity is getting called out by Jon Stewart for being on Crossfire, which sent him into a temporary tailspin of not having cameras pointed at him.
Yep.
And rather than learn the lesson of not just creating BS arguments for arguments and PR's sake, he instead was like, well, I'm just going to play only to my base.
Yep.
And I'm going to do whatever it takes to keep cameras pointed at me forever. And in doing so, even though it's not as explicit as he did on the show the other day, calling out a New York Times writer, he has called out all sorts of kinds of people and made their experience in this country way less safe.
Yeah.
Has endangered their lives by spewing his racist vitriol, hate, and strategy for how to execute that and make it a reality.
Yep.
Nonstop, every night.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And so since his return, and you're 100% right, it's been white identity politics. That's it. That's it. And accusing people of doing the things that he's literally trying to do as he's doing the accusing. Absolute garbage. But those are not the only two garbage people. We also have...
I just want to say, like, his big victim moment is not getting doxxed.
Yeah.
Not getting doxxed was him being victimized.
Yeah, that was him saying they're going to dox me when they weren't going to dox him, and he was sort of doxing someone at that time, is the Dave Rubin don't burn my book, when the only point of the entire thing is that he's desperate for literally anyone to burn his book. Okay, with that, let's turn now to the community TDR garbage person of the week. Right now, we had Trump for deploying secret police across America, Brian Kemp for suing Georgia officials over masks, federal officers in Portland for terrorizing protesters, and Ted Yoho for accosting AOC and then giving a lame apology, with Trump winning, rightfully so, for deploying secret police across America. Second place are the secret police, which makes sense. Then Ted Yoho with 6%, Brian Kemp with 3%. All of the above getting 64%, reminding me once again that we shouldn't have all of the above because that's too easy.
Should be reminding you guys that, if you vote all of the above, it's a wasted vote.
It is. It's like, yes, they're all garbage. That's why they're on. It's not like Trump for sending secret police, your grandma for baking a pie, and then your favorite author. No, it's all garbage. Anyway, Brett, we're over, but I did want to handle one other matter before we go away, and I'm going to read a few more super chats. I just wanted to say that for reasons we can't get into, we are going to temporarily be without one of my favorite coworkers, which is Angel, the producer. She is going to be gone for at least a couple of months, and that is devastating during a time that is already devastating. I mean, thanks to her leaving, we're also getting another great employee back to fill that gap, which is awesome. But Angel going away is like another blow in a time that has been so difficult, and she is awesome and hardworking, and she preps all my interviews, and she does just such a good job that I don't even necessarily know what's going on, and it still looks good. No, she's awesome, and she is going to be missed, and the show is going to suffer for her absence, as any show she's involved in would when she moves on from it.
Angel... Who?
You...
That's how I deal with separation, right there. I build a wall, and I push them out. No one needs you around here. I like Sophie. Sophie's great.
Sophie is great. She is.
Not happy
Angel right now.
Sophie, who is very active. I remember a member of my family was like, I was at some random town hall and someone who used to work at TYT was there. Sophie? And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, that's awesome.
She
gives
an F.
No, and we're super excited to have Sophie, obviously. But it is very rough to lose Angel. She's going to be missed, and hopefully she will be back as soon as possible. Make that happen. And I'm saying that to the universe and also to Angel, I guess. Angel, make it happen.
Angel, I'm sorry.
I'm not just going to miss you. I need you. Come back.
Angel, I'm sorry. I'm sending you a message.
Exactly. Okay, Brett.
During the show, I asked if she'll do something, and she was like, sure, if you'd like. Damn it. Angel, stop being kind. I need reasons to hate you while you're gone so I don't feel lost.
Okay, for every day that she's gone, we're going to come up with one reason that we hate her so that it doesn't hurt so bad. Okay, Brett, thank you. It was a supersized show. Appreciate you sticking with us. Happy Half Hour's coming up later today, right?
Happy Half Hour coming up later today with Nick Marzak. It's on after main show and post game, and then at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern time, we have a amazingly, fantastically a panel of TYT greats, myself, Anna Kasparian, Alyssa Bernardino, who is our intern. And fantastic. And then Sloan Hughes from Funny or Die joins us. So twitch.tv/TYT.
Awesome.
Thank you to everyone.
Thank you, Brett. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. And for everyone at home, let's read a few more super chats before we go. Joseph Gundel with a big super chat and someone dancing over a city. Thank you. Ernie says, John, I heard you're taking donations for Dragon Squad swag. I'm in. Well, we don't have any swag yet. We do have our awesome graphics producer and designer. Norma's working on some stuff, but we don't know when or if that's going to happen. So we're just cross our fingers. But who knows? We'll see. Searching for Answers says, I'm from Louisiana. My whole life I heard people dare the federal government to come down there and tell them what to do. Now it's happening. It's like, yeah, well, they spray painted buildings. Yeah. The next couple months are going to be rough. I'll just say that. Okay, Margie said, okay, guys, I've tried to be a super sponsor, but no credit or even reaction that I've tried. Margie, if you sent in a super chat and I didn't read it, I do apologize. Early on, when there were less super chats, we did read literally everyone. The issue is that there has to be a balance where if I don't go to the super chats, both I feel bad and then people feel bad, and so I don't want that. But if we do too much of it during the show, then people say that we're not covering enough news. So we do have to strike a balance there. We have to make sure that we're giving everyone the news that they need while also, showing our appreciation and responding to your comments. So I apologize if I did miss one of yours. It wasn't intentional. I'm looking back over the ones from today, and I'm not seeing it. It's possible that one might not get clipped out. That is through no fault of anyone. It happens sometimes. So I do apologize, but thank you for the super chat. We do appreciate your support. Throwing down the mask says Crop Duster Karen. Ew, it's true. KS says concerns: number 1, stop fishing. Number 2, veganism. Number 3, save democracy. Number 4, misogyny and racism. And they all start with tossing Trump. Go vegan. Trump hates vegans. I've never heard him say that, but he probably does. Sharon Blevin says Brett is Ryan Reynolds and John Krasinski's love child, and I love it. 100%, totally. Shelby says Trump sent his brown shirts to Seattle. This was after Mayor Durkin sent him a letter telling him not to. I'm actually scared. Exactly. So that's what I was saying. Like, he talks about, like, we have to be invited in. You were invited into the ones you already went to, and you're going to new ones. They didn't invite you. What are you talking about? And we're going to have a couple of people who've been participating in the the Portland protests who are going to be on the show in the very near future. So look forward to that. Lakailo says, I wrote a limerick for you in normal chat. Enjoy. I'm going to have to go back and see that after the show is over, but thank you. John Howell says, thank you, crazy, wonderful Damage Report tribe. I appreciate it. The tribe is awesome. They're also a squad, and there is a dragon. I'll just say that. Anyway, Jennifer says, not all of us Southerners are redneck douchebags, Brett. No worries. I still love you 100%. We get that. We get that. Lorna says, Bo of the fifth column did a good breakdown of school guidelines, how ridiculous it is, as coherent as Trump's description of a cognitive test. Exactly. I worry that they simply collapsed. Because the CDC just collapsed because of Trump's pressure, and he got someone to give him what he wanted. And that is incredibly dangerous because there are lives on the line. Okay, over on Twitch, Dobbs Merck says, if you can't wear a mask for 15 minutes to get your Chipotle, then you're basically admitting to furries being stronger than you. Probably are, honestly. They probably are. Steph Mont says, come on, Brett, it's so hard to remember person, woman, man, camera, TV. Oh, wait, she remembered it. In like a year, I'm going to tweet those 5 words, and I'm going to see if anyone remembers. Hopefully we have other matters that we're dealing with. I have to show this from Edwin over on Twitter. He created I'm Loving the Bert and Ernie Show. Edwin, you bastard. Thank you. Is there any way we can get Angel to stay in Edwin? You go. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Love Edwin. Just Ortega says, congratulations, Angel. Best wishes. Hopefully we'll be back very soon. We just want to, bid her, goodbye. This is her last day for a bit. John's Venn diagram of desire over on Twitch says, my mom has been MAGA for the grandkids for 18 years. But once Trump started using it, she doesn't anymore. And my daughter calls her Gaga. That's funny. That is funny. I like that. And thank you to the people doing the gifting of subs. I see Irie Man 42, Uper Megs, Pink Light Bulb. Really do appreciate that. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, we are way over, and we've got an interview coming up. But thank you to everybody for your support. I see the images in chat. Okay, so really fast, I'll be right back, and I'll show you a little bit of what will probably be your last peek of this dog before it is half the size it is. So appreciate Shaggy Abby in 1 sec. Hey, Abby. Hey, Abby, come on in, little girl. Come here. You're the cutest, Abby. She's a good dog. Horrible to walk. Never wants to go anywhere. It's a nightmare. But she's a very good dog. And a good guard dog, too. Although that means a lot of barking. Anyway, everybody, today was Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. It was great to have you here. Hope we both covered a lot of news, but also had a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you being here. It's been a rough week for a lot of different reasons, some of which you know about, some of which you don't. But either way, for both of those reasons, I do appreciate all of your support. Main show's coming up later, as well as Happy Half Hour. Enjoy that. And with that, I'll see you on Monday. Stay safe out there.